HR to HR, from hell raising to human respect. The podcast is a little bit of career therapy, a little bit of chaos control, and a lot of workplace wisdom. Or basically all the things that ain't in the employee handbook. You're not going to want to miss it.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to HR to HR, from Hell Raising to Human Respect podcast. I am your host, Dr. Ebony L. Baylor. I am so excited that you are here. I am flying solo today for this very first episode, but trust me, guests are coming. They're coming soon. We're fresh off of the holidays and getting back into the swing of life, and schedules are already doing what they're doing. They're filling up very quickly in this first month of 2026. Hope that you all are having a happy and blessed new year. Want to make sure that you are liking, following, subscribing, and sharing so that you don't miss what's coming up. We're building a community that thrives in the workplace. All right. So make sure that you do those things for me. Today we're talking about workplace and office politics. This is a big topic. It is very meaty. And if you happen to catch the teaser clip, you already know we're going to have to run this back a couple of times just to uncover all of the layers that are contained therein. And I want you all to chime in, tell me the angles that you want us to unpack, because the reality is politics shows up in almost everything in the workplace and probably will be paramount to a lot of the things that we're going to discuss on this podcast. So to ground us today, we're going to do a couple of things, or three things. One, we're going to define workplace and office politics. Two, we're going to elevate awareness and talk a little bit about what it can look like. And third, we're going to share some strategies for navigating. All right, that's what we're going to do and tackle on today. So, workplace and office politics, what is it? Really, what it is, an informal dynamic that involves three things: relationships, influence, and power. Those three things: relationships, influence, and power. Remember those three words: RIP, relationships, influence, and power. Now, the term gets a bad rap, mostly because these three elements are used in unethical ways. But there is another side about workplace politics that can be positive, ethical, and even preventative of some of those hell-raising organizational undercurrents that we see. So what we'll do is we'll talk about both. So let's talk about the negative side of relationships, influence, and power. When you think about them, they can foster toxicity, frustration, demotivation. Let's peel this back a little bit more. Think about key decision makers within an organization. They hold power. They can push a yes. They can push a no. They can make things happen. They can make stuff not happen. The reality is the decision makers, they have power. And because they have power, people want proximity to them. Pay attention to who has their ear. Those individuals who have the ear of the decision makers or have the ear of the people in power, they often get approvals, they get ideas moving along, they get access to things, they get access to resources, they get visibility, they get exposure. And there's nothing wrong with that when it's used for good. When those things are used truly for the benefit of an organization or teams or a collective, those are good things to have, right? Everybody needs access, everybody needs exposure and opportunity. And so using workplace politics or relationships, influence, and power for elevating others, creating opportunities, providing exposure, those are good things. But things turn toxic when relationships, influence, and power breed favoritism, manipulation, gatekeeping or withholding access, harmful or untrue narratives about people, character, reputation, stifle growth. Those are some of the things that can happen with workplace politics. I want you to be very clear that this is the information that I'm sharing is not Ebony's opinion. And because listen, I have an opinion about everything, but want you to know, done a little research, done a little bit of homework, and just will even to validate what I'm saying right now. If you go to Google or you go to any search engine, put in office politics, and you're going to see countless examples. Even if you go into LinkedIn and just put in the search bar office politics, you're going to find countless examples of high performers being blocked, having their reputation damaged, or people that are leveraging workplace politics and the relationships, influence, and power to be self-promoting at the expense of others. That's not a good look. Kathy Caprino, I believe is her name. She wrote an article called Navigating Office Politics: How to Rise Above the Fray and Make a True Positive Impact. Now, she conducted a poll back in 2024, and it revealed that 76% of professionals said at least half of the organizations they worked for had difficult or damaging office politics. Like, that's insane. Like, that is not healthy. And when you start thinking about psychological safety or think about workplace well-being, which are two things that we're probably going to talk about here on HR to HR, but when you have damaging politics, what does that do to you emotionally? Like, it's not healthy. It's not positive. It's not motivating. So again, it leads to those frustrating, demotivating, toxic conditions. It's just mind-blowing that many people experience that. So Kanika Kumar had an article about office politics, the silent career killer of worthy professionals. Again, high performers. She highlighted the kind of people that thrive in the negative workplace politic environment. So this was interesting. And she shared that most of the people that thrive in a negative workplace politic environment, they're not the most talented. They're not the most hardworking. So there's two things. But what they typically tend to do is build alliances, like build a posse of people that will subscribe to their narratives. They build a little posse, they'll build alliances, and they focus on perception instead of performance. So whatever perception that they want to push or whatever perception is benefiting them, that's what they focus on. And they are very masterful at influencing. They talk more than do, and maybe even over-explain because they're mastering and masterful in influencing. One other thing that she noted in this article is that they stay very close to the power. So these individuals, again, that thrive in workplace politics that is not good or not healthy, they thrive in this environment. They stay close to the power. Like wherever the decision makers are, wherever the power is, they are never too far from proximity to the power. And because they are comfortable with their proximity, they act as a force field, blocking others' access. So they're very close to the power, but they're serving as a force field that blocks others from accessing it. I'm just going to pause and sit with that for a second. Think about your environment. What are you seeing? What have you seen? What have you experienced? Or better yet, what are you doing? Are you using your relationships, influence, and power to lift? Are you being lifted or are you being blocked? And remember, workplace politics evolves as people transition in and out of their roles. Again, when you think about an organization, let's just say there's some key decision makers and the powers, and there's a whole organizational change, and some people leave. Guess what? Those relationships in influence shift. So now, workplace politics and office politics, the game done changed because the players have changed. So it's an evolving situation. So what do you do with this? Like, now that we've kind of talked through what a positive situation looks like, talked about what the toxic, the most commonly known explanation or experience with workplace and office politics. Like, now that you kind of have an idea on what it is, what do you do with this awareness? And yeah, I'm sure when I said pause and sit on this for a second, there was like all kind of bells, whistles, light bulbs, like all the things like, oh my goodness, like I'm either in it, part of it, or doing it. And so now that we're aware, like, what do we do with it? Do you have to play? Do you have to participate in the politics? Yes, you do. You don't get to sit it out. You don't get to sit it out. And as a matter of fact, Niven Postma has an article that she wrote in the Harvard Business Review. The article title is "You Can't Sit Out Office Politics." And look, when I saw this article, it hit me like a ton of bricks because I Vividly remember saying, I ain't the politicky chick. I don't want to hobnob and forcefully rub elbows with people just to get, to get things done. I want to just do good work. My good work will make room for me, and I fervently believe my talents and my gifts will make room for me. But I just don't want to do the politic thing. And when I read that article and I thought back to that time I had that conversation, what I meant is I don't want to play games. Like, I'm not the one that's going to go out here and get close to people just to move my agenda along. Like, I'm just not going to do that. But what was maybe heard from the person I was having this conversation with was she doesn't want to grow. She doesn't want to expand. She doesn't want to build network. She doesn't want to leverage or lean into influence. And so this was a very personal moment for me because it was very eye-opening. What I said and what I meant, I don't think they may not have translated the way that it was intended. But so lesson learned. But one thing that's true is whether you're in a big organization, a big corporation, Fortune 500, 10,000 people, 500 people, small mom and pop shop, politics exists and you don't get to opt out. You don't get to opt out. You don't get to sit out because even if you're not participating in the politics, there's probably politics happening around you. So you really don't get to sit out. You might be in the game and didn't even know you was a part of it. That's a real situation. Now, organizations should ensure and being mindful and paying attention to how workplace and office politics affects the organizational culture. They have a responsibility to be mindful of that. They should be being mindful that workplace politics and office politics does not breed the favoritism. It doesn't stifle or limit access. The organizations should certainly make sure that people are still being held accountable and that there's opportunity for everyone. But you, as an individual navigating workplace politics, you got to play a different way. You got to be tooled, skilled up, and you got to do some things a little bit differently. What is it that you need to do? One, you got to be self-aware. You got to have a growth mindset and you got to have some resilience. And this is not just for you. This is for those around you. And so depending on where you sit in an organization, whether you're just navigating your own experience, you might be responsible for a team of people. You might have people reporting to you. But how you navigate workplace and office politics is not just for your purpose, but it's for those around you as well. And so navigating workplace politics, it's not easy all the time. It's not fun, but let's just center ourselves for a second and think about where you are. Think about where you are in your career, your workplace, your organization, whatever it is, and think about where it is that you want to be. If you want growth, if you want more responsibility, you want a promotion, you want exposure, you want access and opportunity to do other things, you're going to have to lean in to relationships. You're going to have to leverage influence, might even leverage your own influence and leverage the influence of others. And you're going to have to tap into your own power. You might not have access to power or to the key decision makers, but you do have your own power. You're going to have to tap into that. So let's look. I'm an extrovert, but I'm going to talk to my introvert people for a second. If you are an introvert, you may need to get more connected. Where are my introverts at? You like to just stay in your lane, keep your head down, do your thing. You're not the one that's mixing and moving and getting involved in a lot of different things, expanding your circle. But if you are an introvert and you truly want to navigate workplace and office politics, you might need to figure out a way to get more connected. For you, the extroverts like myself, I come into the room and I'm hello to everybody. You may need to expand more intentionally. So if you're an extrovert and you're the life of the party, you have no problem meeting new people. You have no problem expanding your network, but you're moving. You might need to navigate expanding your circle or growing a little bit differently. And that's not a bad thing. The goal in either instance is to build meaningful, authentic relationships. Now, listen, having a value system is paramount. Why? Because it should keep you in check on what, why, and who you are engaging with and how you are engaging. And not only that, how people are engaging with you. Again, remember, this isn't just about you navigating, but this is you being aware of how you might be being handled as a part of workplace politics or office politics that you might not even known you've been a part of. So again, having that, moral compass or that value system, that's going to keep you in check, and that's going to remind you of who, of what, why, and who you're engaging with, and also help you pay attention to how people are engaging with you. Another opportunity is growing skills and growing network. You really can build relationships and influence in learning new skills, stretching not only your talents, but stretching your network. But you start building relationships with experts and even those that are like you. So, for example, let's just say you want to start learning a new language, or you want to start learning, upskilling and learning a new talent. There's probably people that are sitting right where you're sitting that are starting at ground zero or starting at the same level that you are. That is a new friend because you're going to go on that journey together. Maybe you're new to a network. That's a new opportunity to make connection. And so, there's a lot to be said about just reaching outside of your current pocket or your current circle and networking with other individuals, picking up new skills, or joining different networks even within your organization. There's plenty of opportunity to get visibility, create visibility, build and leverage relationships, and create and leverage your own influence. Another thing, share your accomplishments. Speak up. Like, if you've done something great, look, your contributions are yours. You should be the one to articulate their impact. And I do not consider that bragging. That's ensuring equitable awareness of your value. Okay. I am a firm believer that you can't sit back and wait for somebody else to toot your horn on certain things. Right. Now, again, there's a difference between being braggadocious and making sure people are aware of your value and your impact. Documenting your wins. I think this is very important, especially if it's an organization that does evaluations or does performance reviews annually. You do a lot of work from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And it is so important for you to have receipts of the things that you have done. Document your wins. And when you're in the room with those decision makers, aka the power, the mic is on. Speak to your impact. Now, here is where it's important. Not only do you speak to your impact, but you lift others up while you're doing it. This, again, is important because, again, you don't want to be self-promoting. You don't want to be just all bragging about yourself, but you have an opportunity, if not a responsibility, to lift others up with you. And so being self-aware in all of the things about what's going on, self-awareness truly leans into emotional intelligence. Resilience leans into workplace political intelligence. Like, you got to be able to navigate these situations. Again, remember earlier I said the landscape is ever changing. Workplace and office politics is ever changing. The conditions are ever changing. The people are ever changing. The influence is changing. Relationships are changing. The people who have the power, that is always changing. And so you have to be resilient. And so paying attention, observing who is connected to who. How are they connected? What accesses and things and approvals flow through those relationships? Awareness informs engagement. Niven Postma posted in her article about the importance of relationship currency. Relationship currency. This is your networks. These are your allies. This is your sponsorship. This is about mentors. Listen, everyone needs cheerleaders. I'm a big fan I'm rooting for everybody. Okay. It's nice to know who your cheerleaders are, and politics requires you also know who your adversaries are. You got to know who your adversaries are so you can know how to engage with them and how to handle them. Adversaries, they're important. They are. And so, there's no doubt about this, that workplace and office politics can get very messy. It can get very ugly. But the good news is, friends, you do not have to lose your soul, your dignity, or your values. Balance integrity with your career growth. One great training that I happened to stumble across in LinkedIn by Virginia Clark. She is a conscious leadership expert. She has a training out on LinkedIn. It's literally about 15 minutes. It's called Nano Tips for Navigating Office Politics. I highly recommend if you're interested in some awesome tips, insights, and actions. But she was speaking very loud and very clear about the importance of integrity and being able to navigate workplace politics without losing your soul, because it can get a little rough out there. So if you have an opportunity to check out that training out on LinkedIn, I highly encourage it. And so one of the things that I plan to do always in each and every episode here on HR to HR is conclude with a workplace word of wisdom, a WWW. So my workplace word of wisdom for today is, with regards to workplace politics, is discern and decide. Discern and decide. So discern means to recognize what is happening and understand what it means. Okay, so in that, observe, understand existing relationships, how they're being leveraged. Observe your relationships. How are you leveraging your relationships in influence and power? How are you being leveraged in relationships, influence and power? And decide, what does this mean to you? What does this mean for you? What does this mean to you and to your team, or for your team? And how will you navigate? How will you build meaningful, authentic relationships? How will you use influence? How will you create opportunity? How will you create power? Those are some things to think about. So that is my time, y'all. I hope y'all have enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts about today's episode. Leave some comments. Also, what other layers of workplace and office politics do you think we should explore? Like, there is so much that we can dig into, and I want to hear from you. So please make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and share as we continue to grow the HR to HR community. Until next time, friends, stay respected by being respectful.